Okay, so we are live now. Um, Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode on our weekly Sales and Onboarding series. I'm Arushi, your host for today, and the founder's office at Revral. So today, we'll be going deep into a very special topic, which is called banking's digital evolution over the last 2 decades, and whether AI relationship managers will shape the future. So we have a proper panel discussion wherein we are joined by five amazing guests who bring diverse perspectives from AI implementation to building financial products and onboarding in BFSI. So let me introduce them all to you. First up, we have Pankaj sir. He is the Deputy General Manager Product at India Post Payments Bank. He'll be sharing his valuable insights based on 2 decades of experience working across multiple banks such as IDBI, HDFC, ICICI, Kotak Mahindra, and of course, India Post Payments Bank. Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you.
Then we
It's a
have
pleasure.
Venkat sir with us. We have Venkat sir with us. He's the ex-MD and CEO at India Post Payments Bank. He has joined us already for a few sessions earlier. So again, he's here and he'll be giving us a lot of insights from his experience. So thank you for joining, sir.
Thank you, Ashi. Thanks for having me.
Then from RevRag, we have our co-founders, Ashutosh, co-founder and CEO, and Neeraj, co-founder and CPO. And they'll shed light on how RevRag is building AI solutions for digital onboarding in BFSI. So thanks for joining Ashutosh and Neeraj.
Thanks, Arushi. Yeah, thank you.
And then we have Mayan. Mayan is the co-founder and CEO at GenStack. So Mayan will give us a fresh look at AI from a cross-industry perspective. Thank you for joining, Mayan.
Thank you, Abhishek.
So now that all the guests are here and we all know, we can probably get started. So let's start with the first topic, wherein we'll talk about the evolution of BFSI over the last 10, 20 years and how the role of traditional relationship managers have changed. So Pankaj sir, I'll start with you. Can you please take us on a journey on how your journey with banking started and how it has been over the years?
Okay, thank you. So yes, I started way back in 2003. Uh, First assignment was in ICICI in the customer service department. Uh, was responsible, primarily responsible to respond to customer queries, various banking and investment products which are there. Moved to cards product team. Was first product manager who launched the signature credit card that you all use in the market. Uh, Thereafter, I joined IDBI. I wanted to do the hardcore sales, see on field sales experience. Was part of the retail asset division, primarily dealing with retail asset products such as home loan, car loan, educational loan, personal loans, such as. Uh, Thereafter, I had an opportunity to work with HDFC Bank in the marketing division. Again, taking care of debit card, current account, bill payments, the other product services, marketing of these to the customers was the assignment that I was responsible for. Thereafter, I joined ING Vaishya Bank, which further merged to Kotak Mahindra. I was taking care of debit cards as a product and subsequently Forex prepaid as a product. So if I look at my whole journey in the banking, it went into various departments, right from customer service to product, marketing, sales. And yes, my interest lies after having all that experiences. My interest lies with product marketing. I understand, having gone through various experiences on these divisions, which kind of helped me to shape better, understand, connect to the customers more empathetically, and develop the products for the organizations. And today, I'm taking care of India Post Payments Bank, all the CASA products as well as all the payment stacks, which are interoperable payment stacks, which are UPI, NEFT, RTGS, IMPS, BBPS, all of this. So that's from my side.
Arushi, are you on mute by any chance?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, sir. Thanks for telling us more about you. That's given a lot of idea about your journey, and there are a few questions that I would like to ask, but I'll ask them in the coming session where we have more related questions. So now, since this topic that we are currently discussing is about how things have changed over the years, let's try to understand more how the relationship managers' roles have evolved over the years, especially ever since AI has come into BFSI. So what is your take on it? What is your perspective? How has it, changed?
Yeah.
Uh,
So
yes.
historically, customers valued the personal interaction, having one-on-one meeting with the trusted advisors to seek opinion for their financial planning or buying the products or servicing for that matter. What I feel that now over a period of time, this demand has been changed. Customer no longer require that one-on-one personal interaction. Because of the digital adoptions that's come into place, there are quite a few such as mobile banking, internet banking. These tools are there in the hands of the customer. So for the routine tasks, they are no longer dependent with the relationship manager. They expect 24 by 7 service, very seamless in nature. Want to have a very omnipresence experience as far as banking is concerned, be it across any channel. So as and when customer raises a concern, he would expect that my complaint previous to that was also kind of acknowledged, has been resolved or not, it's been checked thoroughly. That's something which is evolving from the customer servicing point of view. As far as the buying was concerned, traditionally relationship managers were doing customer acquisition for the relationship management. They were pitching on the products. So it was a very product centric, physical presence, paper oriented banking in the previous era of the relationship management. Today, with the digital adoption, customer onboarding has become seamless. There is a lot of data which kind of get churned out to identify customers what are the needs and what are the predictive needs which are there, which RM then can go and fulfill this off. So this whole transition which has taken place uh, has actually helped banking a lot. The digital onboarding itself cut across the geographical barrier. So previously it was one-on-one interactions with the client and the relationship manager. Is that's what that geographical barrier digital onboarding has removed it completely. In fact, it helped us for to go into the rural markets as well, which is where again the banking need to be kind of penetrated further. What I again wanted to kind of put forward is that personalization. So previous personalization was in the hands of RM who would understand the customer needs, okay, and then kind of provide it. But today, data being there available with the banking ecosystem with various applications, they kind of synchronize together, get analyzed, and then a very personalized product offering can be done to the customer. These are the some of the points which are has evolved over a period of a time. Customer retention, which is extremely important today, the data points which are there, and customer retention is extremely important point for any banking or financial company, where we need to have right trigger points in order to understand whether is there any possible attrition of the customer, and in a timely manner with the intervention of an RM, this can be curtailed and ensure that the customer is retained. This is to gain for a company maximum customer value over a lifetime. So this is extremely important that these tools have been utilized so far. Uh, what was not there before, I think technology adoption by the customers, technology adoption by the RMs is kind of helping a lot. Previously, the data which get mined out properly, RMs can then have a very pointed conversations, okay, and a very focused conversation with the customers in order to fulfill their needs as far as cross buying is concerned or servicing is concerned. So that's my take on the relationship management, which has over a period of time.
So I'll just ask the following question. We talk about, AI relationship manager, but is it something that is being already implemented? If yes, then how do you think people would take it in tier one cities or tier two and three cities? Because banking is an industry where trust is extremely important. And will it be difficult to implement this in tier two, tier three cities where there's a lot of potential for lending and different financial products? I mean, there's a big market there, but can AI, penetrate that level as deep as we think it could? Any thoughts on this?
Sure. So I think what AI just started beginning, the real impact is we will see few years down the line because good use cases will start getting developed. You are very rightly pointed out that the trust is extremely important here. So and that too when you talk about the rural market, yes, vernacular languages adoption is extremely critical. The tonality is adoption is very important into AI agents. Okay, so these dialects again plays a very critical role when you uh, convert somebody in the vernacular medium. So that's something is very important. You asked me what has been implemented today. A lot of chatbots have been implemented to tackle the routine customer queries which are there, which kind of freed the bandwidth from the RM side of it. Okay, but however, real as a AI voice calling out and pitching the products or those sort of things are yet to evolve as a use case as we see. Uh, and yes, there is a potential there. Can it be done? The answer is pretty much yes. Okay, the right data points, relevant data points which are available. It is the right AI model engine which has to get developed over a period of time. Understanding that customer is very essential. Okay, that empathetic behavior is very important. So that's where the trust will get built up. Only when you have a small, then the trust building process is very simple. You commit something and you fulfill something, and the repetitive process of that kind of build the trust with the channel. So with any kind of it. So this process to begin with, it will require some more time, some use cases, some adoptions are very important to happen. The vernacular piece of it, the empathetic behavior is something which I feel is extremely important. Uh, when it comes to decision making, okay, so AI will process the data, provide the options which are there, but as far as the decision making is concerned, it is in the hands of the again the customer. So we provide relevant information to him, okay, which is suited to his need, understanding his all the data points which are available in the not only in the financial domain, but probably could be in the social media also if the customer provide relevant consent for it. Analyzing all of that will give the right tonality to pitch the product. Okay, so that's very important. And we how do we move forward on this? So my first point is that take up a small use case. I would call it say example for that matter of buying a health insurance by a senior citizen. Now when he tries to do that, of course he would come up with certain amount of medical history of that. While he fills up that particular form, a relevant information, right information goes into application is very important. And AI will conversational AI which helps him to fill up that application form in a conversation way will add a lot of value. Okay, again, can it be done for the claims processing part of it? I would call it a very good use case of a car insurance. If the damaged car is there, can the photo which has been clicked by the AI leverage it out, analyze that thing, understand the quantum of damages, provide, of course there is a backup information available, how much potential cost is there for the repair of that or so on and so forth. And then based on that, at least do that kind of crunching and put up a relevant case for a decision making in the hands of the competent authority to make that thing going ahead. So I think yes, there could be lot many use cases on these parts, not only on the onboarding per se, but I would feel a lot of servicing and upselling, cross-selling activities which are possible. That's really important. Insurance renewal, again, it's a very important thing. Typically, the non-life insurance products which are there are 1 year terms in nature or 3 year terms in nature. Though for the renewal part of it, rightly nudging to the customers, evaluating what has happened throughout the journey of this particular product, what he has bought, and how a new product can be properly pitched to him, offered to him, and make him aware that this is a good journey. Not only that, after helping him to for the renewal process also, if there is any form filling process which is there, helping out that. So these are the certain use cases which I feel are important to work on, and it will add great value.
Good. All right, sir. Thanks for the answer. So, Venkat, so I would like to ask the same question to you. From your perspective, what do you think about this term AI relationship managers? Do you see AI being implemented somewhere along the AI's the relationship manager's journey, whether you see it being implemented today, how you see it being implemented in the future years. What is your take on it?
Yeah, thank you. So, if you track the concept of relationship banking, that existed even when there were no computers. I shared this previously. There were branch managers or the branch staff who used to don this role in bank branches, where they personally know about the customer, and they have a lot of information about what the customer needs are, and that way they were able to manage the service angle. So there are two angles in this that we must understand. One is the service angle, which a customer wants from the banker, and second is the value deepening. Ultimately you are here to make some profits for the bank. So obviously you need to know more about the customer, and you need to sell a bit more to the customer, so that there is a value deepening angle also. So it works both ways. So considering this, obviously you need to have that context and memory of all the conversations that you have with that customer. So in the traditional setup, yes, this worked well with a limited set of people, and people always used to suffer when the bank, the people in the bank or bank branch got transferred. I mean, they always have this pain that somebody whom I know as a customer, if he's transferred, then obviously it pains me. Arey yaar, wo nikal gaya. So that was the kind of comments that we get to hear from customer. But obviously that's not something very formalized. But come the private banking part, I think early 2000, when a lot of new private banks joined the bandwagon, we've seen this concept of private banking and relationship banking, where the banks try to formalize, you have this personal banker or relationship banker. So that kind of formalized, but again, that also got diluted to a lot of extent, because the moment you formalize it, the human touch has gone. In fact, I would say that in the good old days, probably it was much more effective rather than now. Now also I get to see so and so name as a relationship banker, but I hardly interact with him. Neither he lifts my call nor I try to call him. So that's how it works. So that way, I don't think when you're formalized this concept, it has really worked. But now we are at an inflection point, I must say, that one yeah, now we are at an inflection point, where we have technology like conversational AI, which can actually help build us all those fundamental principles into this whole concept, and bringing back the context. I think that is more important, because having the context of the previous conversations, and a good know-how of what a customer wants, I think these things are very, very important. And I'm glad that we can build this contextuality into the whole relationship banking. And more importantly, now the way this kind of technology works, one is ubiquity and the concurrency. uh, I don't think you will have any limitation. At least in the previous years we had a limitation, because every branch has limited number of people, and you can only serve a limited set of customers, right? So that way, any kind of volume spike would not be a problem when it comes to dealing relationship banking with technology. I think that's one of the huge advantages that we can tap from technologies like conversational AI. But having said that, I think we should not miss out the foundational and fundamental principles of relationship banking. If we are able to intertwine those principles into this technology, I think we are back in the game.
Got it, sir. Um, Neeraj, I have one question for you. Um, since you are, building products at RevRag, you have seen all the issues that people come with, the customers come with. What is your thought on, this AI layer of relationship management? Have you faced any use case where, users have come with you that this is probably some implementation that they are looking for that a human relationship manager does, and whether you could see it being implemented or whether you could implement it along those lines, if you can just tell us a bit.
Sure. So I think like before the digital lending, right? So people had those kind of expectations. So obviously, like when Venkat sir explained that, like people actually appreciated the human relationships or the RM relationships at the bank, right? So I think the businesses were also not at that scale. So for example, after 2015 or 17, right, the kind of the digital lending has grown in India specifically, right? So I remember, if I remember correctly, so back in 2010, PL portfolio in India from the fintech perspective or NBFC used to be just 1%, right? Fast forward 2019 or 2020, it used to be more than 30%, right? So that is the kind of growth it has seen from the PL perspective, right? So now, so building that a one-to-one human relationship is not possible when we are looking forward with the scale, with the kind of the products these fintech companies are running or these banks are running now these days, right? So I think that like at RevRag, so and just taking a step back, right? In India, like a country, right? So if you consider any product, so for example, loan or credit card or the insurance, they often face huge drop-offs, be it because customer didn't understand the value proposition, or be it because they lost the trust during the midway, or due to the language barrier, or anything specific during the journey which they didn't understand. So I think at RevRag, what we are doing is like we are building these AI agents, right, which are specifically built, right, to reduce these drop-offs. So there are two kind of products with us, right? One is the embedded agents, right, and second is the normal AI calling agents. So what they do is like, just let's take an example. For example, if a user is there on the offer screen, right, and they are trying to understand, right? So embedded agent, let's say after 10 seconds or 20 seconds, they will activate themselves, and they will have the proper context, right? Why this customer might not be clicking or taking the next step, right? So they will be conversing with the customer as if I am, let's say, if a customer is trying to take a loan over a application, and a friend of his is sitting beside, and they are trying to help this guy, right? Like, hey, what happened? And maybe they can share their concern that like maybe the rate of interest is very high, or my the expectation of loan amount would be the higher was higher, right? And I'm not getting that, right? So this is the way basically our embedded agents kind of interact with the customer. Another product of ours, once the customer drops off, right? So these AI calling agents basically call these customers, and they try to kind of remind you or basically pull you back to the journey, right? Now these are very different from the normal communication. So currently, what is the status quo, right, which we have seen in the especially digital lending, right? People send a lot of communications, be it on the SMS or the WhatsApp, right, and IVR, right? Now mainly they are mostly sent without any context, right? So for example, hey, you got 2 lakh rupees loan but you didn't move forward. But these AI calling agents will come back with heavy context. So for example, hey, we saw that like you explored XYZ things, right, but you didn't move forward. Maybe you are feeling that like, do you need more loan, or like the processing fee seems to be higher. So in totality, they will be going back to the customers with better context, right, rather than simple reminders. So if I have to talk about one of our client, right, which we went live past 2 months back, right? So there we saw from lead to conversion basically 2x. Those were the numbers, right? And that is how we double down with that client, right? And that client also got a lot of confidence, right? And hence is spending basically saving that money to basically spend on the marketing or basically on the lead acquisition. So yeah, so these are the things I think from the RevRec perspective. This is how we are helping. Yeah.
Great, great. Um, Ashutosh, I have one question for you as well. So the idea of, I know you've been uh, figuring out AI solutions for BFSI since quite some time, but the idea of an AI layer for relationship management, how did you think of this? And what do you plan on uh, how do you plan on implementing it? What is the idea behind it, like the goal that you want to achieve? Is it to probably do a hybrid approach wherein AI and humans come and work together? What is your thought on this?
So I think I have had a multiple chats with even Venkat sir about this. Like me and Venkat sir uh, have brainstormed around these ideas a lot of time, right? And we all have experienced relationship managers, right? If let's say if you have applied a loan, if you have applied or if you have tried to bought an insurance, everywhere you go, you will try to linger on, okay, is there a person that can probably help me to basically get this thing going, right? There is some way. I personally do feel that there is a need of a person that can probably help me reduce my effort and get that going, right? I think now that with the AI advent, we are seeing that all the industries are will be getting very personalized, right? uh, when we
Yeah.
started with sales for SaaS, right? And then we basically started selling into BFSI. And when we were building sales agents, if you remember, we were actually doing a lot of personalization. We were doing super personalization, right? We we actually we believed in personalization, right? And that is actually being implemented in not just in BFSI. Even I was having a chat with a real estate company, right? They are also trying to basically implement personalization. They also have RMs. They have also have relationship managers, right? So I think relationship management layer will be getting advanced, right? There will always be a human in the loop because it's as Pankaj sir and you were chatting about the factor of trust, right? In BFSI, the factor of trust is multifold, right? And we have seen that Neeraj can second that, right? In Blance, when we were building a fintech, the most important problem that we saw first to solve was actually trust. Then only a customer can come and basically buy certain things, right? So if there is a human in the loop, there is always a trust factor that gets increased. And then personalization, a lot of queries, a lot of support, a lot of assistance, a lot of uh, sales driven customer support, everything can be clubbed together in an AI relationship manager of sort, or a AI engagement layer of sort, which is basically given interacting with the customer. And for bankers, for fintech, for companies or BFSI companies, right? It it increases the scale, right? There is a chance that if I am at a particular scale today, I can multifold it anytime, right? Probably I have that kind of a strength today, and it is not a bottleneck overall that I cannot scale today, right? I will be able to solve and have more knowledge about my customer as well, and I'm able to give much more what I can say, uh, basically much more in-depth experience to my customers. So I think I too believe, and there was a very good example by Pankaj sir. If let's say there is a old person who is, like, let's say 60 years old, 70 years old, right? And he wants to renew his insurance, then probably an AI agent should be able to help him fill the form, right? So that is where things are going, and I believe that there will be a large part of banking that will be automated with these AI agents. One of them is relationship management layer.
Well, we hope for that too. We hope for more and more AI implementation in the coming years, especially in banking. Thanks everybody for your views on this specific topic. Now we'll move on to a similar and more. We'll basically narrow down more into the digital onboarding flow. So, Pankaj sir, I have a question for you. The typical onboarding journey of a customer is definitely not as easy as it seems. And it varies a bit for different financial products. As you mentioned, you worked in personal loan, you worked in credit cards, right? So, how do you see the experience for customers improving in the categories that you worked in? And any special opportunities, any specific opportunities in the flows of these products that you think are there and people or probably people building in this area can, try to, improve it or bring in better AI application there.
Yeah, true. So today, I think in the banking primarily, do we have a digital onboarding? The answer is pretty much yes. There are many banks who have adopted the approach of digital onboarding, including India Post Payment Bank as well, where we are able to onboard customer in a very seamless manner within the regulatory framework. Let's quote that. What is important here and what has helped the banks and financial companies is that an ability to verify the information supplied by the customer. And this, I just want to elaborate here that if I give my Aadhaar on the particular portal, I have ability right now with the help of OTP being in remote, okay, or in person if I with the biometric, I have an ability to verify his record. That's extremely important, okay, so that bankers do have a trust as to it's coming from a very reliable sources. Otherwise, papers flying and getting verified, it's with the originals. I mean, that was the era which was there. But today, I think what we're talking about, and which is where our digital public infrastructure has helped us tremendously, is to verifiability. That's something which was very essential. With the help of PAN also, yes, we are now able to authenticate the PAN details, okay, and then move it forward. So such is the variability which, if it is brings forward to a lot of other factors, okay. And I would quote an example of the SME onboarding, like a non-individual entity wants to start banking, okay. Today, primarily it's a paper driven, okay. There are back and forth which happens on the paper, and finally the onboarding does take place. If we are if the digital public infrastructure kind of combines together with the help of GST, income tax, you know all of this UIDI PAN comes together and does that particular unique combination, and bank curates a journey out there. The digital onboarding for SMEs uh, can also be very simplified for small businesses, I believe so. So these are the certain use cases which are there. Again, digital onboarding for the lending products are concerned. Today, we have account aggregator as a stack available, but and again verifiable stack which is available from other thing. We have a CKYC, that means a customer has already been KYC'd before, has a unique reference number attached to it. Putting that all journey together combined, okay, this digital onboarding for lending can also be very simplified. What are the currently today, even somebody wants to take a home loan, probably the initial journey application part of it is kind of very seamless, but eventually it boils down to one point where we have to execute an agreement with the bank, which are a home loan agreement, and that happens to be on the paper, okay. How do we simplify it? Can we be able to digitize this part of it, okay, with the, of course, all the regulatory frameworks kept in mind? That will again simplify the whole process. The digital onboarding use cases, there are more and many, okay. I mean, we would like to quote here that with India Post Payment Bank, the number of accounts that we had onboarded, even on the self mode also, and as well as in assisted mode also, we have never used a single paper to onboard a customer, because all was able to do it through digital platform. And within 3 minutes, we could simply open an account for a customer, reaching into last mile of the people. So this has, there are a lot many potentials which are there. Now that banking has been achieved, can we do it for a similar way for insurance also? Because today we are talking about, if I had done a KYC, okay, in a bank, why couldn't the same be replicated with that of the insurance company? Okay, why do they have to do it all over the KYC, at their instance again? So we have to give a seamless experience for an individual to buy various financial products across the domain and have a similar seamless experience. If that sort of verifiability, and the critical part is verifiability, we were able to verify, establish the fact that he is the right person, okay, and the authenticate person, then we should be able to process him on board. So that's my take on digital onboarding is concerned. And AI can definitely help. I think what was also mentioned by Ashutosh, and I always say that AI initiates and human finishes. I mean, if that way somewhere we could able to do it, I think that's simply cut across the journey in a most frictionless manner. That's what I want.
That sounds really, really interesting, sir. Um, my next question is to Mayan. Mayan, I want to understand what your thoughts are on AI assistance and voice, especially. How do you see it transforming the digital onboarding process? You can probably start with how things were, are, and how do you see them happening, and any real life um, implementations of AI that you've seen with customers, with people, and where do you see the drop-offs happening? I just want to understand the whole thing from your perspective on digital onboarding with AI.
Got it, got it. Thank you, Arishi. So I think what I have as observations are, of course, a very tech first and very horizontal perspective on how things are happening in the BFSI space, right? So just to add on to the fact that I think everyone was talking about two things related to the relationship management, which was trust and personalization. We feel that personalization is a little but obvious thing that can get solved by AI because it, let's say, has infinite memory that you can provide it to, right? So I can actually know everything about you, probably things that you've done decades ago, right? So that is there. But with trust, what we figured out with BFSI is that trust is not just how long I have known you, it is also the accuracy of the information that you share with me, right? So let's say I was cross sold something which turns out to be the way I was sold was misinformation. That basically uh, breaches the fact that I trust you, right? So one thing we observed is that AI can actually amazingly solve that trust part also, which we think of otherwise, right? Because the accuracy is something that can be solved for when it comes to training a model or passing on certain information to the model, right? So that is one observation that we had, which could be unlike what we think about trust, right? So, which is that having human factor in the conversation, but it is also associated with the accuracy of information. Now, another thing is that the way we can look at AI at this point, especially in the context of relationship management type jobs, is is in a similar manner how engines, for example, transformed transportation or industrialization in general, right? So humans had their limit. They could not do certain stuff with a certain consistency, for example, and they couldn't do it endlessly. But now think about a relationship manager, right? Think about a case like lending, where it's not a problem of having a lot of inbound, but the problem is the hesitation of your customer that has come up, right? This customer needs to be tirelessly followed up. This person needs to be accurately passed on information, right? This person does not appreciate rush from the relationship manager, right? If you're trying to close the deal faster, then you're actually pushing the customer away. Now, since AI can endlessly follow up, like fundamentally you can have a 24-hour call as well, right? Continuously, which is, let's say, not possible by a human. You can continuously, tirelessly, n number of times follow up on the same thing again and again. That has resulted into actually a positive delta in the onboarding part, especially the digital onboarding that was previously being done by humans. So that's another observation we have had in the BFSI space, right? And even with the fact, another example was of an insurance company, right? So again, this was a use case where repetitive questions were being asked for a questionnaire, so health related questionnaire, right? Now again, we would think that this is such a such a use case where AI might not really work out, but surprisingly what happens is, even if the questions are repetitive, AI can actually acknowledge a user's response in a more personalized manner. So that actually pushes the user to a closure much better than a human. So Pankaj sir, I think you were talking about empathy in the whole relationship management thing, right? I think especially in the tasks which are more like recurring standard procedures, AI turns out to be actually more empathetic. because it can give you a personalized response to whatever you had last said, and it can do it again with n number of customers, them repeating the same thing. And AI can actually be always in that, let's say if it is supposed to be in a certain mood, it can convey that mood all along, right? Unlike a human, which could be having different mood at different point of time, right? So there are sweet spots that we have figured out from our clients, where this seems to be rather solving on a lot of issues that were there with humans, but are not there now.
Quite interesting, man. Thanks a lot for your in-depth perspective on this. Um, Now that we've spoken a bit or AI relationship managers and the digital onboarding flow, I would also want us to talk a bit about voice, how voice AI is coming into the picture. So, Pankaj, so this question's for you. Because you've had so much experience in product, right? And that is where your interest is. How do you see voice AI agents moving the needle? And if you think there are some specific products where voice AI can, really help, and even in those specific products, some specific processes where it could really make a difference, we'd love to know about it.
Sure. Okay. So when it comes to voice, I have primarily three things, and of course, as I said, the impact is yet to see, and it will happen eventually. We are in the process of doing so. So three primarily things which feel that one is the regional language capability. That's very important if you want to reach out to from tier one onwards below. Number two is the emotional intelligence and empathy, which I just talked about. Ability to understand the tonality, if there is a hesitation, okay, the sort of confidence that is there. Can AI actually detect that and can work around it? Be it any sort of be it a onboarding journey or be it a servicing is concerned. Understanding satisfaction level also could be one also point in the by the AI voice agent. Second is the hybrid, which I just talked about previous thing, that AI will able to grasp a lot of data points to all of the churning, okay, but at the same time, when final decisioning was to happen, there would still be a feel of need of human being to be there for the last touch point, which is there. So, and some primary talking about till millennials, okay, up to millennials, I feel that is pretty much required. Thereafter, generation which are going to come, okay, I think they will pretty much be on their own for completing the financial transactions, and when they enter into this, with all of this infrastructure being readily available. To talk about the specific use cases, yes, I think pre voice AI voice can help for the initial screening part of it, where there is a large data chunk available, where the call has to happen to understand where there is a requirement of a product or not. I think humans, as Mayank was saying, that there is a limitation of humans of doing certain amount of follow-ups. Yes, there's a capability concern that how many times that we can do it. Otherwise, the capacity just has to increase of the humans to make that call to service that particular data points. But AI can actually do that very very efficiently. Having said that, what another important point is that during the call, the nuances of the conversation to be get picked up, okay, and then can be further passed on for the final closure to the human. I think that model will I believe so it will work out very very smoothly, because then human will understand that okay, there is this if there is a parameter of confidence level of so and so percentage, interest level is so and so percentage of the customer, hesitation on the lower side of the customer, and for this particular product, and then with this information if the pass on to human, then probably human will be in a position to close that deal very very simple. In the lending collection is very important thing, okay, so you always want to curb your collect npas at the very very early stage. You don't want to move it from 30 days onwards type, typically nobody would like that to have in their portfolio. So at an initial level, getting that call done, so this is after onboarding, it's like a servicing to a customer, doing a collection management, but doing that empathetically, because over a period of time, if and this is what my experience is, that in collections, over a period of time, the more person being there, okay, doing all of this communications to a set of customers in a repetitive way, the tonality of the humans also kind of changes, okay, which I think AI would be more empathetic in understanding. Yes, there is a anticipated payments against which this collection will get knocked off by the client, and yes, of course, then subsequently following up on that particular incidences as committed by the customer with the client, so that the NPA is kind of curtailed. So this is, I think it's a very very useful good use case which AI can work upon it. Customer benefit, yes, you will not get those nudging calls, but you will get a very empathetic call and a gentle reminder, I would call it, for your collections to be get paid due in time. So that's something which is important. Uh, Again, renewals. In insurance industry again faces the concerns of the renewals which are there. Okay, those need to be done very importantly. So how do we at a what juncture you call to the customer is very essential. Okay, so you just don't call it the last junction. You give enough ample amount of time to the customer to make him aware about there's a due renewal which is there. You tell him the products which are there available, what are the benefits of the renewal, if there is any claim, there is no claim and there is a percentage of benefits which is getting accrued to him for the doing the renewal. That all has to be get kind of communicated. So advance benefits to the customers on a real time basis. Okay, in the renewal call by AI voice, will be able to grasp it completely because he is in possession of all that information with him, and delivering this will be a very in an efficient way will be possible through AI voice agent. And there are certain use cases I feel are possible in banking industry.
Thank you, sir, for telling us about voices implementation. I'm sure people who are watching this would get a lot of insights from your experience as well. Uh, Talking about implementation of voice, Venkat sir, I have a slightly different question for you around this. Um, do you think there are certain categories in financial products where there is still, a big barrier for AI implementation, or specifically voices implementation? We could talk a bit on that, or if you see, some potential there, or maybe it's a difficult category to crack for anybody.
Okay, I would like to just take a step back here. Not it is not just voice because voice again is a combination of intelligence and the delivery, right? So ultimately, there is an intelligence layer that's there in between. So one of the important factor, particularly very very relevant to BFSI space, and even regulator has also been harping upon this fact of explainability, because whatever that we do, that needs to have a clear cut audit trail and that needs to be explained. So fundamental understanding or the perception that every one of us needs to carry is that AI would help you in decision making, but ultimately the decision making has to happen and owned by the human. So AI can help us in a kind of pattern matching, in terms of helping and processing tons and volumes of information, data. All of that AI can do. So definitely, it can do much more than what otherwise humans were doing in the previous era. So which means you are in a better position to take a decision. So which means the fundamental decision making cannot be rendered to machine. While we are talking about underwriting and the other related activities pertaining to credit decisioning, to sort of machine learning and to AI. Well, that's all possible, but I think there are challenges when it comes to some of the decision making, particularly in the credit underwriting. If I talk about, I think the non-traditional segments like microfinance. Today we all know that microfinance model itself is being questioned. So can A help us in bettering or reviving that particular model? That needs to be seen. How better you are able to underwrite an individual, where there are no traditional data points, right? So that's one area. And second, I would say it will be difficult again is in the area of fraud detection. While AI can help you reach closer to detecting some of these fraudulent patterns, but ultimately how quickly you can act on those aspects, it matters on that particular aspect. So definitely, I think I would say that AI has its limitation. So long as we are cognizant of these limitations, I think we are in a better position to leverage AI.
Interesting. So you mean microfinance and fraud detection? These are slightly challenging areas, as you
Yeah, even
mentioned,
AML
right?
for that matter, because AML also requires you to cut across multiple data sources in terms of processing and deriving at some sort of pattern recognition.
Understood, sir. Very interesting point that you brought up. We'll be talking a bit more on these in the coming session for sure. Now that we are, since talking about the application of AI and what it can do, what it cannot do, I have one question that I wanted to ask. I'll start with Neeraj. So, Neeraj, there's, I think, a lot of miscommunication on the front that what people think AI can do versus what it can actually do. I'm sure you must have had some, companies that you're working with. They have certain expectations, and like, and what AI is actually able to do in BFSI. So can you bridge us around that, around their expectations and what AI can actually do today, and how that is being communicated, and what certain misunderstandings are? Can you throw some light here?
Sure, I think yeah, it's a great question, Arushi. So I would say that like there are two, three aspects to it, right? So obviously, like while we have onboarded like more than a dozen clients, right, in last couple of months, right? So there has been a pattern that like first time when we go into these calls, right? So the client's expectation is that like once you have deployed the AI agents, it will solve everything for them, right? So, for example, we are solving the drop off, right? Or we are helping them to reduce those drop offs, right? So, their expectation basically comes out of the way that, like, this will completely, reduce the drop off, or basically it will solve their problem end to end, right? So while I will not say that like their expectation is wrong, or but I would say that like there is a requirement of understanding that like how these AI agents work, right, and to what extent they can help, right. So that is one thing. So that is one bucket. Second bucket is basically as we move forward, and we have seen that like since the start of the chat GPT, right, we have seen a lot of evolution around the AI technologies, right? Be it LLM, or if you even if you talk about from the tech perspective of these voice agents, or basically any agents, right? STT, TTS, or LLM, right? There has been like numerous or basically exponential, you can say, improvement from the technological perspective, right? So while their expectation is not wrong, but I think the evolution of the improvement of the, you can say, the decremental of their drop offs, or the improvement of their funnels, right, that expectation needs to be aligned, right. So that's why like when they come on to the call, right, so we help them understand that like okay, what all things are possible or what things are not possible, right. So from that regard, so there are two three things which uh, we kind of, so we see that like there are two to three gaps, right, which we generally see that like, and that accounts to basically that understanding, you can say, right. One thing is that like when we go to these fintechs, right, so obviously they are, it's not like they are weak technology from the technological perspective, right. It just, let's say, one thing is for sure from the data perspective, right. So if we simply deploy these AI agents, it's not like that they will give the results. Everybody is having the data, but they are not in the usable format, or let's say these data touch points are not, uh, they haven't got the opportunity in terms of instrumenting those data points, right. So they are not directly usable for these AI agents. So one thing we have to understand that like the cleaner the data they have, right, the better the input they will have for these AI agents to show the magic, right. Another aspect is like after the deployment of the AI agents, there is a continuous requirement of, you can say, uh, uh, continuous requirement of human intensive feedback, you can say, right. So for example, once you have deployed the agents, just like you train a human, right, so you will have to train these agents so that they can be improved, let's say, on the weekly basis, and that is what we are actually also doing with our agents which are deployed on the fintechs. So overall perspective, people or the client should understand where exactly their drop offs are coming, right, and then they should try to map to those moments or those places where it can be replaced by humans, or basically the human touch is required, and those human touch can be basically correspond or basically replaced by those AI agents, right. So they should not, people should not basically think that like it is a silver bullet, right. So I think that like Pankaj sir and Venkat sir has already mentioned that like it's a uh, it's a combined work of both the human and the AI agents where the magic lies, right? Not one of them only can, give you the outstanding results, right? So yeah.
Absolutely agree, Neeraj. It's not just, you know, something that magically will happen with AI. It really depends on the inputs that the clients give, how accurate they are, how the agent is trained, and how, specific the problem is, the problem area. So again, the combined effort of both human and AI agent. Thanks for giving your insights. Mayan, I would like to point the same question to you. I want to understand your uh, thoughts on this, that, AI is a buzzword, as people would call it. Um, I think we'll have to talk a lot about the gap that is there, and people really need to understand that, what the actual capability of AI is and where their contribution comes as well. So can you give some, use cases probably by working with clients, and just share your thoughts on this idea and how it can be overcome?
Got it, got it. So I think I can give a very tech perspective again here, right? So I think
Absolutely.
and the way we should look at the capability of AI is exactly the opposite way. Like how Pankaj sir was mentioning, we should first understand what it is not capable of, and then I think we'll understand the hype part of it as well. And just to give a perspective of how we should look at AI, right? So there is a quote by Bill Gates where he says that we overestimate an year and underestimate 10 years, right? Now, why I am bringing that here is because as a tech product, as a production ready product, right? Voice models have been here for probably around just 12 months at this point. Before that, they were more like a research product, right? So the question is that Pankasa was mentioning whether they can understand emotions, whether they can, understand the anger, for example, in the voice, and then basis that react, right? Now the question is, can they do that today? Absolutely not. But are we heading towards it? Absolutely yes, right? So there is speech synthesis or voice synthesis that is coming up. Right now, there are a lot of moving parts that create bottleneck. There is language model, and then there are two different voice models and a bunch of orchestration in between. But we will edge towards speech to speech models that will solve for a lot of bottlenecks that are there today, and it will probably maybe even 12 months down the line, the voices will probably be as human as it can get, right? We'll probably not be able to differentiate. But at this point, there are limitations. For example, your voice model could be limited by dialect, but language model is, let's say, not so limited by that. By the same time, your language model could be limited by the ability to reason or do a mathematical operation. Your voice model has nothing to do with it, right? Now, again, because you're also trying to do a lot of other parameters optimized in terms of, let's say, latency, because that is also something that makes it human like. You cannot really put up a larger model, for example, to solve for the mathematical problem, because that will add to latency issue, right? So right now it's a play of multiple moving parts, but we are edging towards a space where we are reducing these moving parts. In general, friction will be less. In general, there will be less exchange of data between different models. Only a single model doing end-to-end work. So at this point, there is hype, there is a lot of buzz around it, but the only problem there is a mismatch or a misalignment in terms of the expectations versus the timeline. If you just redo your timeline, we are going to reach where we are expecting it to go, and most of the problems that we are discussing today, even in terms of the capability, I think they'll be solved.
Yeah. Thanks, Mayan. Thanks for bringing in the tech perspective and the nuances of voice and how uh, it can be used and what are the challenges there. Um, Ashutosh, I have this question for you. You've you've built different products, not specifically financial products. You've built multiple enterprise SaaS products. You've worked with AI. You're working with AI. I want to understand your perspective on this topic, that, AI, is it a buzzword, and the gap between what people think it can do versus what it can actually do. Have you seen it evolve, and like what people used to think back then, what people think now? What is your take on it?
Uh, I think so. Majorly coming, if I can divide it in like different stages, right? So basically, let's
Sure.
say uh, people like us, for them, I think we think that there is a lot of hype. But if you walk out, right, and talk to other people in different segments, if different walk of life, there is still not a lot of hype of AI, right? So I think there is still a lot of hype that is needed for AI. But for us, I think because we are working in this environment, so we think, okay, AI is everywhere and everybody is talking about it,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? But there are a lot of big companies that still haven't thought about AI. Any, like, they are not talking about AI in their boardrooms. They are not talking about AI in their product meetings. They are not talking about AI in in their engineering calls, right? They are working on their own roadmaps, and they are implementing those roadmaps, right? But yes, people are starting to accept AI and starting to uh, talk about AI, and starting to see what is possible, what is not. So I think it is more about awareness problem today, right? People actually don't know what is possible and what is not. And once they start to talk about it, see a little bit of demos, see what are the solutions available, then they get to know, okay, these are the limitations. But if there are people who are like seeing AI for the first time, they tend to think that, okay, everything is possible by AI. And that has happened even in the like self-driving cars perspective as well. People, while self-driving was not actually present, people thought that, okay, self-driving is actually being implemented, right? So and I think 3 to 4 years back, I have had a chance to chat with a lot of people, and they didn't know, okay, what is level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 7 type of cars that are present, right? So I think awareness is a problem, and slowly and gradually, I think that awareness will be filled by people like us, people who are working in the boardrooms, people who are implementing, such as Pankaj sir, Mayan, Neeraj, Venkat sir, people like you, right? So I think we will be the people who will be making people aware more about AI, because we are at the front of it, right? And slowly and gradually, it will like it will go down to the bottom when uh, absolutely, like, big companies start to pick it up uh, uh, in their own stack, right? So let's say if SBI today implements uh, relationship management layer with AI, probably the next day everybody will be experiencing AI, because most of them has covered in India, right? So it is just about uh, when things will start to happen. I think they are there slowly and gradually. Everybody is picking it up. I think there's not enough hype yet. There is still a lot more needed.
I'm sure, Ashutosh. Thanks for giving this answer, the perfect closing for this topic, and bringing a holistic perspective to it. That was really nice of you. Um, Now that we've touched base upon multiple topics, Venka sir, I have a question from you. One of our closing questions. Um, if we are looking at the bigger picture, what do you think are some of the major and some of the non-major challenges that banks and fintechs face while implementing AI or voice AI? I know a lot of NBFCs banks have implemented it in the form of chatbots probably, but I think there's a lot more scope of implementing AI. Not everybody is aware of it, and it needs to penetrate the industry more. So, what do you think are still the challenges, and what could be focused on to overcome these barriers?
Yeah, as I shared this point earlier, I think this particular technology has immense capability of bringing back the human touch. That's important, and also the fact that the banking uh, process is always a complex for an average user. Banking process is always complex. So how do you kind of make this more simplistic for a user? Because in a DIY environment, we have seen how users struggle when it comes to operating their banking apps, mobile apps, and everywhere, almost in every country, if you see the number of smartphone users, but the versus the number of people who actually use mobile banking apps, it's always a subset. So that itself tells you that there's a lot of ground to cover. So I would say that voice AI can bridge that gap in terms of uh, answering any sort of queries that the user might have. And because of the intelligence layer, I think the AI would be able to comfortably take all the questions of the consumers, of course, spanning the hallucination part, which is again a matter of learning curve. I think taking care of that, definitely we can bridge the gap and bring the consumers much more closer to these institutions. I think customer service is definitely one area where it can uh, do much better, whether it is at the time of onboarding or whether it is at the time of point of service or point of sale. At all these instances, imagine if you can bring in AI, the kind of knowledge that it can bring. Uh, because you can have now have a virtual RM sitting inside your mobile app itself because of this technology, and that can answer all your questions, not just pertaining to the banking alone. It can even get extended to the generalized part, whatever that you can do with your money or whatever that you want to do with your money. What if everything is taken care of by this particular tech revolution, right? So I think the reimagination is definitely something that we all need to do when it comes to deploying this sort of foundational or frontier technology into BFSI space.
So,
I actually second that on Venkat sir point. I think
mhm.
one thing for sure, there is a reimagining piece that is required, right? We today are not actually able to imagine that actually what we are today doing is the first hand experience that we have had and trying to implement them, right? But there will be second degree of agents, there will be third degree of agents that will be coming, where we have to imagine new problems that we can probably solve with these type of AI agents, right? Because we are so much aware about these type of problems today that we have felt firsthand and we are trying to solve. There will be second degree, third degree problems, reimagining pieces that Venkat sir has said.
Thanks, Ashutosh, for adding another point to Venkat sir. Point. Thanks, sir, for answering that question. Um, Now that we are towards the end of this session, uh, for the closing question, I would like to ask Pankaj sir one thing. Um, just a second, sir. So, as someone who has, worked a lot in this industry, uh, and of course, we've discussed a lot about digital onboarding, but any, piece of advice that you would want to give to people who are trying to implement AI with their financial products, probably where they can start or any use case they should start with, any kind of advice that you can give to them who is watching.
Sure. So there are actually two. Okay. So one is one should not look at AI only for automating the task. That's very important. But how do we build up the trust architecture in every step that we do? That's so very essential because the fundamental of banking finance lies in trust. So that really is the fundamental for it. So building trust in every step is very important, while the automation is basically a byproduct of it. That's what I would call it. How do we do that? There are primarily three subpoints which I have for them. One is whatever the AI output that we are looking at should be in a framework, acceptable framework, or an expectation in two aspects: regulatory and cultural. That's important. So if, as long as we are within this framework, okay, the output will be definitely appreciated everyone. So regulatory and cultural expectation is utmost of importance. Second thing is that AI shouldn't be considered as a wall between customer and the financial company. Okay, they need to have some route to reach out to a human. Okay, in appropriate way so that customer feels comfortable. Okay, so that's important. And last is about the empathy. Okay, we are human, we are Indians, we are emotional, so our we need to be dealt in proper way. So that's how I call it. Empathy in the conversations are critical. Okay, so this is on one point of it. Lastly, I would call in terms of opportunity, there's lot beyond than onboarding. Okay, there are many use cases which are there just waiting to get help of AI to give a superior customer experience. That's all I say.
Amazing, sir. So again, as you said, like, if a human and AI, they both work together, I'm sure they can do wonders, and the possibilities are immense. And there are still so many areas to explore. So I'm really excited for the future, how things can work with AI in BFSI. So thank you so much, everybody. Pankaj sir, Venkat sir, Ashutosh, Neeraj, and Mayan, for joining us on this session today and giving your invaluable insights. It was definitely an eye-opening experience for us and anybody who's watching this series. So thank you to all the guests who have come, taken their time out to watch this panel talk. Um, we are very grateful. We'll stay tuned for the next session that we'll be having next week. Until then, thank you everybody for coming on this session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Arushi, for having us. Thank you.
Right.